oh my goodness, I had that baby stuff. But when you didn't come, they said you weren't, I guess Linda said you weren't feeling good or something was going on. I brought that. But I'll get it to you, okay? I'll get it to you. Because I do have like baby games and all that stuff. It is, you'll like it. Yeah, and it's like, I don't have to worry about being a grandmother anymore. I mean, it's like, it's done, you know what I mean? That stuff, the shower, so.
Okay, tell us what you just said about what's on the table.
So, I didn't have pictures from the time that I was president or my early days at Master Gardeners. Somebody else was secretary. Somebody else was supposed to do that, not me. So, I called the agent, the county agent, and he's supposed to bring some pictures they have from 1994, which is apparently my classroom.
So, tell us what you have.
So, this was our book that we were given as part of being a Master Gardener, and of course I added some things to it. I came to Master Gardeners because I realized I didn't know much about growing things. When I was pregnant and in the early years of being a mom, my husband said I was nursing too much and I needed to get out of the house a little bit. So we planted a few little beds in front of the house and didn't know what to do. So these were the things that I was interested in. I like to cook, so I started in the Herb Society of America in Green Rock, and then I started growing peonies and wildflowers and irises. And so those are some of the things. This is my other favorite book that I earned as a Master Gardener, which was Weeds of Arkansas. That was very helpful to me. So these are some of the things I've been interested in. I have a yard landscape. Got the landscape working on garden. So that was one of my projects. I then started doing Ichabana, which is Japanese flower arranging. Rita was my teacher, and I float camellias and some Latin roses in there. Latin roses, heads that
Okay. All right. Thank you for our private interview here, dear.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet y'all.
Here today is our very first president of Garland County Master Gardeners. She's going to give us a little history of how they started. Right now she's looking at the old picture book that Erin brought in from when she was president. Adrianne, would you like to come up? Or you want to look at the book? Y'all, this is Adrianne Kahn. She's a longtime resident of Hot Springs. She can even tell you when the mall was built. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Here you go.
So I'm Adrianne Kahn. I was born in Pablo, Arkansas. I went to all my schooling there, and then I went away. And I was lucky to go to school in Boston and in St. Louis, and then I did gemology school in LA. So I was really lucky to get to see both coasts, but I love Arkansas. And in 1982, the mall contacted us and asked us to put a store over here in the new mall. It was a very significant thing because they had not built malls in Arkansas for 15 years due to our usury law. So it was the first one built. So my dad said, I'm not going to expand, you should go do it. I'm like, okay. So over I came, and I guess the rest is history. I bought out stores in Little Rock, and then I took over my parents' stores in Pine Bluff, took care of my parents for 14 years here, and then, now I'm back down to one store, and I don't want any more. That's good. But I love my store. I love helping people with beautiful things in their lives. I consider jewelry gifts of the earth, and so I think that's a lot similar to gardening. And one of the things my art teacher told me, he said, Adrianne, look out in nature. There are no color clashes. That means you can put any colors together in your yard with your flowers, okay? So how did I get into gardening? Because I noticed that's one of the questions you ask your new members. And welcome all the new Master Gardeners. Congratulations. I hope you love it. I think you're surrounding yourself with extraordinarily generous people, people who are passionate, people who like to share. They'll give you things to eat and treasures and things you'll grow. And I have a fig tree that was from a Master Gardener who still lives in Oklahoma, I understand, Lynn Newton. And my fig tree got this thick until all the COVID storms kind of gave it a really hard time. But I haven't cut down many things that died since COVID, and they're creeping along, but not making lots of fruit for the birds and me, unfortunately. Anyway, my grandmother had something called a chicken yard. I don't really know what that was. I never saw a chicken at her yard. But she had irises, and she had camellias that bloomed out her bedroom window in January. She had what we called snow. And it was another plant that bloomed in January, and we would pull all the blooms off and throw it at each other. It was a good time. My mother was less of a gardener, and she had 2 trees in the front corner of the yard, and she had plowed a little bit, and she planted bulbs. The tulips were my sister's, the hyacinths were mine. And we waited every year to see those bloom. It was really a wonderful thing. Now, I was from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I mean, we're talking about the Delta. Easy to grow things in. And I didn't bother to grow anything. Then I discovered rocks. Lots of rocks. So when I came through Master Gardeners, we were more than half males. Because they had moved here from Chicago, and they couldn't understand what it was like to grow things in this weather in all these rocks. So they were learning about that when they came. So I had a great good time. And you can imagine 30 years ago that I was kind of a spring chicken among the Master Gardeners. I had a really good time. So the reason I was president was because no one volunteered to be it. And I have been very interested in Pine Bluff and historic preservation, and there was Kahn's a Jewish name, okay, everybody knows that. Anyway, so there weren't any Jewish guys in my class. But anyway, there was a guy from Pine Bluff who went to MIT, which my grandmother would have approved of. And he came back home, he was an architect, but he was really interested in historic preservation. So he got me interested in historic preservation, and we did a lot of stuff, and I learned how to go in front of a political group. I mean, I had a birthday party that my mother invited the mayor to my birthday, and stupid stuff like that. So I wasn't afraid to do that. And in that training, they also set me up to learn how to organize nonprofits and what you had to do to be legal and what you had to do to account for money and all that kind of stuff. So Janet Carson thought it was okay for me to be president because I knew how to get us some bylaws in. That was really why I was the first president. So the great news was we did get our bylaws done, and we had a lot of projects. Who knows what the name of Garvin Gardens was in those days?
20th Century Gardens.
20th Century Gardens, that's right. And that was Mrs. Garvin's name for it. That's what she wanted it to be known for, and the plants that she had planted and so forth. And she was a very good friend of the mayor, Helen Seelig, at the time. And So that's kind of how we communicated. Our job was to help make it become really a public garden. And to be a public garden, we had to be handicapped accessible. And so that was why the only way you were supposed to enter the garden was by boat. Because that's how it was a crazy thing. So the master gardeners were supposed to give tours and that kind of thing. We were not at all invited to do any plantings or any touching of the plants. We were supposed to learn how to give tours and make sure that was our job over there. So that was a very popular one to be involved with. But understand, the public was not coming to Garvin in droves in those days. It just had not made that change. The other thing was, it was very closely associated with the landscape architecture department of the university at Fayetteville. And that they were the ones that were going to figure all that kind of stuff out. They were the people that we worked with. And so Judy Brittenham was the person in charge of Garvin for that part of the school. And she was the one that I felt the closest to. She was a dynamic person and did a lot to get it going. And I'm sure y'all still have several committees out there now, right? Yeah. It was very popular. We also eventually helped out at the courthouse landscaping, but we didn't really do the landscaping on anything. At that point, we didn't have a real landscaping part of our course. But there was a lot of interest in it, but that wasn't part of what we did. We would help on certain projects if we were invited to do it. We were invited to plant the baskets for Central Avenue. So do y'all still do that? And we didn't have a sale. I mean, all my compatriots would be just astounded at not only how big y'all are, but the amazing sale that you had that's so fabulous and can hardly meet all the demand. It's just really phenomenal, and the courses you give with it. So that was pretty amazing to me. I think the other things that I would say, I was supposed to get the PR out. I knew the radio personalities advertised a lot, so I had contacts at the newspaper and the television stations. That was the other thing that I was supposed to do. As master gardeners, we were supposed to get everybody to get soil samples, so we were learning that was a really big thing that we had to do, was go get soil samples, and then we were required to answer the phones and give advice on the telephones. So I never had to do it because I was doing other things, but that was our big stuff. There were some pretty amazing people in the club. One of my favorites was Paula Wallace. And Paula went to work for Lowe's, and that always made me feel really confident that somebody at Lowe's would really know what those plants were and what was supposed to happen. That was awesome. And like to say that we did some tours, and there was a gentleman named Carl Hunter. He wrote the book on Arkansas wildflowers. I just adopted him. He was just fabulous, and he was so open. And one time he was invited out to the village to give a presentation. He called and said, "Come with me," and I was right there. And eventually they started a men's garden club out there. Several of my buddies, one of my herb mentors, Merrill Hill, was instrumental in that. And there were, some of you knew Jean Lichlighter. We had some fabulous people. Yvonne Becker was our orchid lady, and later on, I don't blank, but so we had some. We also had a wonderful guy on bonsai. He was in charge of the fairgrounds, all the horticulture and everything. He was fantastic. So those were some of the things that we did. Another really fun program that Jim Lockwood was interested in was rehab gardening. So we had a connection with National Park Hospital, and we did rehab gardening. And when they had strokes, they would be in rehab, and there were these baskets on wheels, and they planted flowers or tended to the little bits of gardens. And of course, I was interested in herbs, and I had started in the Herb Society of America before I did Master Gardeners. So I dried some pansies and made them make gift cards. And that's really tedious to pick that up. If you've had a stroke, it was quite an exercise, but we had a good time. So those were some of the things that we were doing in the early days. Beautification, we were closely aligned with beautification. I don't really hear about that anymore. Do we still have beautification committee or anything? Anyway, that was a big one. And then later on, the farmer's market, and of course y'all are very active in that now. And then I need a commercial break. Excuse me for 1 minute while I put on my commercial hat. Okay. So, the great news is we have a sister city. It is Hanamaki, Japan. And we have a wonderful relationship with our sister city. And we help fund scholarships to send students to enjoy the wonderful hospitality and the experience of Hanamaki. Hanamaki's in northern Japan. It's near Sendai where they had the horrible earthquake and radiation problems and all that. But it's a wonderful city. If you get the opportunity to go, you'll be treated like royalty. It's just unbelievable. But the great news for you is April 12th, which is a Saturday, will be the Cherry Blossom Festival here in Hot Springs at the Convention Center. And there will be many different arts and it's free to go. There'll be many different workshops. And one of the workshops is Ikebana. Ikebana is the art of Japanese flower arranging. My first teacher is right here, Rita Munson, your very own wonderful master gardener and dear person. She is published in pediatric genetics, if you didn't know, and just a dear friend for many years. So I'm honored to have the privilege to bring the highest ranking Ikebana teacher in Sogetsu School in the United States to Hot Springs, Arkansas for 2 workshops on the 12th. Normally these workshops are $75. It's $25 and you have to bring your own materials, except we'll supply the plant material, but you're still welcome to bring your own. The people that have some experience doing flower arranging will have an 11 a.m. workshop, and then their product will be on display for the rest of the day. And then for beginners, we'll have a 2 o'clock workshop. And the great news is we will have cherry blossoms as our plant material, as our branch material, which is a feature of Ikebana. So it's very exciting. So our cherry blossoms are a big deal because it's such a plant that's so important in Japan. So if anyone's interested, you can go to the Hot Springs Sister Cities website and register, or please get with me today. We only have about 40 more positions open where you can get the cherry blossoms, okay? All right, so I think I answered that, okay. So the other thing we did that was really fun that got discontinued was we started gardening for OCC, the Children's Center. Kids loved it. The supervisors were too busy to maintain it, and they got rid of it. But they sold their produce. It was really a fun project. Love that. The last thing I would say, and then I'll open up to questions, not that I'll know any answers. Well, 2 things. One is I think that floral societies are so helpful. Those were always really important to me. I'm a member of the Peony Society, the Iris Society, and the Native Plant Society, and the, let's see what I do all the time. Oh, all kinds of Ikebana stuff. And I'm in a couple of garden clubs. One is a designer club, and one is Whitfield, which is the oldest one in town. So I think there are lots of places to get information. For me, I think the great gift that I'm blessed with is that I think that everyone I meet has a gift for me, and I hope that I'm able to mirror that back and give it back out in the world to them and others. I certainly find that with gardeners, and I see faces that I know that I haven't seen in a long time. It's such a blessing and make me smile, and I hope you have that same experience with Master Gardeners. Can I answer any questions?
Adrianne, how many members did you have during those?
I think the classes were like 20 to 30, and what was happening was you had to pay back 40 hours of volunteer time. That was the rule. And our class materials were $40. That's what it cost in those days. So, I mean, that's how that worked. But they weren't really getting everybody to stick with them. So as we got the club and we organized things more, so most of the sticking with was paying back the time or falling in love with it or coming up with a project or presenting a program somewhere. We really did 3 counties. Malvern trained with us, and I guess Clark County trained with us in those days. And
How many total people would be in your Master Gardener meeting? Like
15.
15?
Maybe 20. We met out at the old fairgrounds. And I didn't tell you, my 2 proudest accomplishments, besides the bylaws, one was there was a state conference, and Janet Carson, I love Janet Carson. Everybody loved Janet. And she would ask me to do something. Of course I was going to do whatever she asked me. Anyway, so one time I said, Janet,
Microphone.
I have the
Microphone.
conference in Little Rock. She goes, because we have people do the work. I'm like, what do you mean? What work do you need? We've got to do, and I'm like, I can do that. We can do it. We want to do it here. She said, you can do that? I'm like, oh yeah. I've organized jewelers conferences, other conferences. Oh no, we don't. So we got to have the first one outside of Little Rock.
Wow.
So that was wonderful. I had one other thing that I thought was important to tell y'all. Now I can't remember what it was, but anyway, that was one of the things that I considered really special about our deal. And when we did have it here, I wanted to incorporate the community as much as I could, and the art galleries were new. So I went to my buddy at the art gallery. I was like, "Can we have a wine tasting here?" And then the Art Companion magazine sent me some free subscriptions and just stuff like that. It was just fun. And then, of course, they started. And, you don't want to always go to Little Rock Gardens. You want to go to some of the other gardens and stuff. So that was something that lasted. So I was really proud of that. All right. So other questions? Yes?
Did they have a garden show in Little Rock back then, or when did that start?
We did have a garden show, and I don't remember exactly when that started. And we did have a booth over there where we would basically answer some questions. And your mom, Nancy, went to some of those, and there are tons of pictures of her in this album I just saw, so that was great. Later on, we went to something like in Camden or somewhere, and it was a day thing, and we were supposed to be selling or, promoting whatever. And I got called down because I was going out in the aisle. I'm a salesperson. I'm like trying to get people to come over and do all that. So I got called down, like, would you please stay in your booth? So that was about all I can tell you about that. Over the years, I'm starting to go more towards flower. So I was real big in the Herb Society. So we define herbs as any useful plant. So usually that means edible, industrial, fragrant, those types of things, right? So that was real interest. That was kind of where I was going with that. And then later on, I got into using the plants in floral design. And the thing that's so great about Ikebana, it doesn't take a lot of floral material. Even in your own garden, it's hard to grow enough of one plant to have enough roses or enough whatever at the same time to make a traditional arrangement. So that, to me, was a big thing. Did I answer your question on that? Oh, so then the garden show became the plant show and the sale and everything in one. And then it's gone back down, and I guess they had one recently, right?
Got one coming up.
Was it? Okay.
The 26th.
No, you're talking about sale? The sale. Oh, the sale was much later. We didn't have a sale like this. We never even thought about having a sale like this. I don't think I gave away stuff at schools, I gave away stuff to friends, but we never thought about having a big sale. Now, the Herb Society did, and I did it through them, but this was many years later, and I don't know what year. Does anybody know what year it started? The big sale? It was much later. I'd say at least 10 years later. And it's amazing. Y'all do a fantastic job.
Adrianne, can you tell us about some of the things on the table?
Okay. I was supposed to look for pictures, and I didn't have any, so that's why I brought the books. So these are mostly books of the societies that I'm in. And if you ever get to a society, we have several in town. We have the Daylily Society, we have the Iris Society. There was a Rose Society in Little Rock. There's an herb group here. Debbie, what's the name of it now?
Yeah.
Urban League.
Urban League, like Herbal, or R-B-A-N League, yeah. And that's Debbie Tripp. That's Debbie Tripp, but how do they get in touch with,
I'm not sure. City Hall is the president of it, and they meet the fourth Tuesday
at the Math and Science School? Does she still have her store?
occasionally.
Okay, oh, anyway. So I can't tell you any more on that, but it was fun. It was much more relaxed because the Herb Society didn't ever want to do medicinal herbs because they didn't want to have a legal issue. So they had a little different. But they started 3 gardens in Little Rock. They have the School of Exploration at the Blind School. The Garden of Exploration. They have the historic pharmacy at the Historic Arkansas Museum. And then they have the kitchen garden for the governor's mansion, which is the one I worked at when we were getting that design. P. Allen Smith was involved, so it was like all these things were happening at the same time, and it was an amazing time to be in gardening.
What is this?
Oh, so this ugly thing. So if you ever have a landscape architect, we finally got a landscape person to come talk to us, because in the early days we didn't have any landscape in our course. But this is what a landscape architect produces when they do your yard. And then this is my all my plants. And my husband is in the wood forest products industry, and they have a meeting every year in Oregon. So I'd fallen in love with some plants, and so this is my plant list. And she found somebody to go to Oregon and get the plants. So I have a lot of cryptomeria, and some other things that grow up there. Some of them have survived. So while I had, phenomenal drawing and planting and so forth, my yard never made the Master Gardener tour. So,
Maybe you should tour your
no, not now. She saw it in the good days. So I lost my person who really only worked one day a week, but she kept everybody doing what they were supposed to do, including me, and I don't have somebody over the yard. And so if somebody's really wanting to take on a project, well, yeah.
What's your favorite bulletproof plant that you would recommend?
Well, there are some early irises, the little short early ones. that are still the big bearded, very fragrant. There's some little yellow ones, and I can get you some of those, or Jim Bledsoe can. And I think those are great because early stuff's so exciting, and so they're pretty reliable. Now there are a lot of things that can be a problem with irises, and irises need sun. And the problem in my yard is my trees have gotten really big, and I probably need 30 trees taken out because I hardly get any iris blooms. I know, but I have like no irises anymore. Another question. So I brought, sometimes you walk in the yard and things talk to you. He said he wanted to come today. And he wanted to come today. So make sure this gets getting like you claim anything. This is showing just to float camellias. Camellias don't have nice long, the stems are great for ichabana, but the flowering stem is a problem because the head is so heavy for its stem. So floating them is a wonderful solution for your blossoms, and that's what I showed. The other fellow that loves to float is Lenten Rose, which really loves to flop over. So I like floating them. So if somebody wants to steal those, please don't steal them all. That's all. These are just the societies that I belong to, and of course I love Coral Hunter. I don't know if they still do it, but Lake Catherine State Park used to have a wildlife tour in the middle of April, every Saturday, or that Saturday, and that was kind of the prime bloom. And he used to give it, and I don't know if they still do it or who does it, but that was a wonderful time. And so the first house that my husband and I bought together, it had 26 varieties of native plants in it when I bought it. And then I brought some more over. And one of my personal favorites, for no reason, I just like it, is blue-eyed grass.
And Sonia.
Anybody have any more questions?
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Congratulations to y'all, and thank you for what you did for my community. Appreciate it.
Marcia Oliver, our secretary, is not here, but Joyce Pardusky, who is substituting for, and she's not going to stand up. Gail McClure, y'all met Gail. And then Aaron Schaefer is our boss. So this is the executive committee. So we'll start with the minutes, and since Marcia Oliver is not here, all the minutes were posted in the Tuesday newsletter. And so the newsletter before the meeting will have your financial reports and minutes, including minutes for any board meetings or executive committee meetings, so you see what's going on. So, finance, Cheryl Vogel. How much money do we have, Cheryl?
I don't know.
Okay. She's our new treasurer who took over for somebody else.
It's all on this piece of paper. It's on this piece of paper.
And what does the paper say? The paper says $35,142. Next month, she will say it herself. Okay, Elaine Sichter, you got anything going?
We're through. We're through signing up for projects, but you new master gardeners, if you want to do some switching, or maybe we change your mind on a project, you can talk to, who should they talk to? Okay, the mentor, okay, about if you want to change your project. So you do have that option. I really don't have anything else Gail and Tricia have been doing all my work. I'm sorry. But I do want to say about Lynn, who is our lifeblood, knows everybody, knows everything. She's having a hip replacement today in Saline County. We're hoping she gets to go home tonight, but everybody be thinking about her. So, and I really don't have any. Oh, we have 105 present today, which is great. And we had 3 guests. So,
And who are the guests?
we can't read the writing.
If you're a guest, could you please?
Denise, Linda, would you please pronounce your last name? Oh, you're Denise?
Yeah.
Okay, Denise Henderson in the red sweater. I'm looking for a Linda with a Yahoo. Okay. Okay. And then Adrianne was our other guy.
Okay, and now Gail.
No, Annette.
Annette.
We have 105 members today. We also have reporting hours of 119 out of 253 master gardeners. And we have 2,937 sanction hours, and we have 97 non-sanction hours, and we have 970 education hours. So we have a total of 4,003 total out of all of it. You're doing great.
Okay, now Gail.
Okay, thank you. First of all, for the class of 2025, I want to say a huge thank you to our hospitality committee who made this beautiful table for our first year. Okay, I want to say congrats to this class of 2025. You may not be aware, you may have seen it in the rolling slides. We have 2 that have transferred since last year at this time. One of them is Star. Star, would you stand up? Jennifer is not here today, but these are transfers. We have 9 in our online class, and we have some of the online today. I think we have about 5. Would y'all stand up, please? Online. Oh, look at that. Wonderful. Thank you. And then we have our face-to-face. Would the rest of you who are in the first face-to-face class stand up, please? Total of 27 in our 2025 class. Now, we passed out at the first of the meeting a list of the of the projects that the first year class, the 2025 class will be visiting. It shows the time. If you were a chair, I hope you picked up one of these so that you will know when the this 2025 class will be visiting your project. If you are not a chair, you really don't have to have one of these, but they're very useful for knowing when the project visits are going to occur. The second thing we put out, we discovered that a lot of members are not aware of some of the dates and time changes of our projects. So we put out one of these calendars. This is very useful because we've added a few projects possibly since you had one of these 5 or 6 years ago. There are also some date changes on some of the projects or time changes, so this is a very useful thing. The last thing is when we were handing out the handbooks to our class of 2025, a few of our other master gardeners said, can I get one of those books? Well, you get the electronic copy of the project handbook, the the volunteer handbook, the bylaws, and the policies and procedures. You get them electronically, and you can print them out on your own. Well, many master gardeners may not have a printer, and they just want a copy. Well, we checked. You can get a copy, and I'll take orders today for anybody who wants a handbook, a binder, with all of those things in it for the 2025 year. The cost is $14. We get them at Quick Copy. It is front and back, and it does have the color front page that says Master Gardener Handbook. So if you want one of those, let me know today. We'll get some more of those copied. Now, remember, this is just the guts. You're going to have to get your own binder to put it in. But many of you who may want one and don't want to bother with trying to print it on your own printer at home, we will have that made for you. So come by at the end of the meeting and give me your name, and we'll get copies made for you. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Aaron Schaefer. We're welcoming him back from paternity leave. He has a brand new baby girl.
Thank God, it's great to be back. I don't really have anything because I'm just swimming in pink slips at home visits since I've been back. But as far as Master Gardener wise, we all know what's coming up in April, our big plant sale. We're desperately going to need volunteers, setting up, picking up at the end of the day, bringing plants in. So please, just keep your eye out for those many constant contacts you'll get for, calls for volunteers. So that's really the main thing, is just focusing on that. And we're not doing the state conference this year. Thank God. We did a great job with it, but it's a bunch of work, so that's one thing to look forward to.
Congratulations, Darren.
Yeah, Adrianne talked about how fun that conference was in 2006, I believe. We did it in 2024, and part of it was fun, but it was a whole lot of work, incredibly expensive. So maybe in another 17 years, y'all will think about doing it again. Okay, we had the St. Patrick's Day parade, and the chair of that could not be here today. Are the pictures on here? No? Don't you have the flash drive?
flash drive. Can you load it up?
I guess so. We'll wait and do that at the end. Okay, new Master Gardeners, we've already welcomed you. Do you have anything else? No. Just welcome. Yes.
I think it's important to tell the gardeners that just because they didn't sign up doesn't mean they can't show up at a project.
That's true. We would like for y'all.
Just wake up one morning and say, I wonder who's working, go work at a project. And see if you
Yeah.
like it.
We want you to try as many projects as you want, and even if you sign up, if you don't like it, you move on, But I will like for you to try them out. And I will say, we've got over 200 members, and unless you're working with somebody, you kind of don't know them. So that's why we would encourage you to work on projects. I talked about the project sign up, and we are now doing we have a historian who's going to make these wonderful scrapbooks for us, keep track of what we're doing as a group. So please take pictures and submit those pictures, obviously to the newsletter, and also to Karen Hill. Oh, Karen, there she is.
I would like to add also, I am looking for our rosters. I
I have quite a few of them. If any of you older master gardeners have some that you don't want, I would like one for every year that it was published.
Okay, Karen, we prefer seasoned master gardeners.
What experience?
Yes.
I have to tell you a story about when Adrianne Kahn was talking about years ago when she became, I'm after her by maybe 6, 7 years, so I did not know her as president. But when I came to and they asked me why I should be chosen to be a part of the Master Gardener program, I looked around at everybody and said, well, you know, I think I'm a lot younger than them, and I could do more stuff. So years have gone by, but if anybody has, what do we call them?
Rosters.
Seasoned Master Gardeners. If you have any of these books, if you'd get them to me, I'd appreciate that. I'd like to keep them all in
Thank you. And they have announced the state awards. So every year we have a Master Gardener of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Project of the Year, Educational Award.
Excellence in education.
Excellence in Education, Friend of Master Gardeners, and a Business Friend of Master Gardeners. And I said rookie. So, Mentor of the Year. Okay. So this year, we won 3 state awards. Jan Gibson, Master Gardener Rookie of the Year. Brian Fisher, Individual Friend of Master Gardener. And Crystal Reflection, the Master Garden Newsletter of the Year.
I wish Lynn was here. Sorry.
So, they did excellent work, but you also I want to shout out to the award committee because they're the ones that interviewed the contestants, wrote up really beautiful write-ups about what they did, and found the pictures to illustrate what they did. Meaning, so in pictures, we need it from every project because you might be nominated next year. And it's hard in November to say we need pictures of your project where it's nice and blooming, you know, last April or May if you haven't taken it. And we want action shots. We do not want the whole group just standing in front. And I was guilty of that too, so.
No butts. No butt shots.
Okay. No bending over butt shots. We have our standards. So, that's it. If anybody needs a roommate for the state conference, let me know. I am also collecting trash to treasures for the plant sale. So if you've got garden-related stuff that you want out of your house, I'm your person. So
Where do we take it?
What? The trash to treasures? Take it to the fairgrounds Friday before the plant sale.
Oh, which building?
2. Yes.
Today's a little different than what we normally do in the chairs. This little round part right here on the ceiling, this way. We're just stacking the chairs out here, wherever you stack them, in groups of 8. The round tables, we'll bring them back here and put them in the closet. Our tables, we'll put them over here, and the 8 or 12 length we'll put here. And then do not want any chairs put in the closets here or in the front of the door. There, and that's it.
Okay, so this is our cleanup. You know, we have to put the chairs up ourselves, and he's saying chairs in stacks of 8, and we'll put the round tables back into the closet and the card tables will go in that room. Susan?
When was the new Master Gardener manual published online? I mean, she said.
I don't think she's gotten it out
Oh,
yet.
it's not out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be premature to mention it, but if you are going to have more than 50 plants to bring to the plant sale, the pricing team will come to your home and get them all priced before you bring them to the fairgrounds. So just give me a shout out if you think you're gonna have more than 50 plants at your home. We'll come out and price them for you, so when you bring them, they'll just get groomed and set back up on the tables.
Okay, did everybody hear that?
No, it's Char Becker. Char Becker.
It's Char Becker.
Char Becker is the pricing. That's the guy talking.
I'm Char Becker.
Yes, Char Becker.
She's head of the pricing team for the plant sale. So if any of you are wonderful enough to have more than 50 plants to donate to the plant sale, they will come to your house and price them. Okay? What? Oh, Julianne.
We're gonna start working on the garden tour for Yard of the Month, and if anybody has any nominations, please give me a call or give Carolyn a call.
So in May, instead of having a meeting, we're gonna have a local garden show, garden tour. And so we are looking for gardens that would be interesting. So, newbies, if y'all know of something that's really nice, let us know. And Junanne Green is the chair. Okay, last call. Meeting adjourned.